Hello everybody, the long-awaited update bringing us a gear cap for easy mode operations has finally arrived. I would say later than it should have happened, but still better than never. So no more gold or red gear and no more purple tier and above ammo in easy mode, so people can finally stop being bullied by endgame gear in what should basically be a beginner lobby. I have updated the already existing time to kill spreadsheet to now include the new gold versus gold time to kill for the guns that were buffed today, as well as the time to kill for each gun in the game while using blue ammo against purple gear, which is now the maximum available gear for easy mode. You will also see some of the guns I personally recommend with their respective builds and a tier list of all guns in the game for easy mode. You can find the link for the spreadsheet in the description of this video as well as in the pinned comment below. Without further ado, here comes the tier list. I have divided this tier list into 4 categories. Guns that I would personally recommend, guns that can be very good in certain situations, guns that have no particular downside but also they don't really shine at anything. And then we have guns that are simply not worth using, either due to just simply too bad of a time to kill, or their recoil control isn't too good, or they may be too expensive to run, and other factors. The time to kill that I am referring to is specifically for easy mode. The best possible time to kill being using blue ammo against purple gear. In this situation, the testing I have done is using blue ammo against the GT1 tactical helmet and the MK2 tactical vest, which are the gear pieces that offer the most durability. However, on most guns there is no actual difference in time to kill even when using different gear pieces with less durability. So in that regard, I would actually recommend you guys to run the DICH training helmet. And there's no downside to running that helmet as opposed to the GT1 in most cases. And there is actually a huge upside because you have plus 50% hearing range and high noise reduction compared to the plus 20% hearing range and moderate noise reduction of the GT1 tactical helmet. Okay, let's begin. We will take every gun in order. The AKM. The AKM is definitely a viable gun, although it might be on the higher end in regards to the cost of running this gun. The AK-12, also a viable gun, especially more so after the update. So it now packs quite a punch, on top of being quite controllable. The K4 is a viable gun, however, it just plays like an SMG, the same way an Asval does. However, I would recommend the Asval because although it plays like the K4 in terms of range, and they both play like SMGs, the Asval does benefit from the absolute best time to kill at 0.31 seconds. Now, the CI-19. The CI-19 is also on the higher end in regards to cost, however, it is definitely a viable gun. The AKS-74 unfortunately suffers from a very low time to kill, therefore I cannot recommend this gun. It is not worth using, there are better options. The ASH-12. The ASH-12 does pack a punch. It is very expensive to mod so that you are able to properly hit your shots at like beyond the 25-meter mark. Therefore, it is a viable gun, but I would not necessarily recommend it. The AUG is a cheap gun, very good gun, good time to kill, good control, just a viable gun. Now, the AVM has nothing to do in this tier list because it can only be used with red ammo, and red ammo is no longer allowed in easy mode. So we will ignore the AWM as well as a few other guns. Now, the Bison. This time the Bison is actually a viable gun. The time to kill is pretty similar to pretty much every other viable gun's time to kill, even though the SMGs are usually on the lower time to kill side. They are still viable and they can still be used. The Car 15 I cannot recommend. It's a gun that is not worth using. It has too bad of a time to kill and it's simply a bad gun. Now the G3 is also a viable gun. Now the M1014 shotgun. Now this shotgun actually has a very interesting time to kill, which is competitive to pretty much every other gun in the viable gun category. However, this time to kill can only be achieved by using flechette rounds. So you have to hit all pellets in order to deal the maximum amount of damage. Therefore, this gun is only effective up to about 25 meters. However, it goes into viable, and you could also use it with the FTX rounds. However, it will lose a lot of damage, so the time to kill will be significantly slower. Now, the M14 is definitely a viable gun. This gun is very expensive to mod so that you can control the recoil properly. However, it is still a viable gun. Now, the M16. I cannot place the M16 in the viable gun category because the chest time to kill is pretty bad. However, if you do hit all headshots on the 3-round burst, it is basically a 1 burst kill. However, that cannot be achieved reliably and consistently, so I just simply cannot put it into the viable gun category. Therefore, I'll simply put it into not worth using. The M249. M249 is actually a gun I strongly recommend. It has one of the fastest TTKs. M250 also cannot be considered anymore because it only runs purple and above ammo, which is now banned from easy mode. Onto the M4. Now the M4, although it got buffed, the time to kill is actually pretty much the same because it has a very low armor penetration stat, and therefore the M4 is only viable at the moment. The M700. Now the sniper rifles suffer from a very big problem in easy mode because they cannot one-shot a purple helmet, any purple helmet with blue ammo. I cannot therefore recommend any sniper rifle, so I will move all of them into the not worth using category. The M7, similar to the M250, because it is using the same ammo type, it can simply not be played in easy mode, so therefore we are gonna ignore that one. Now the M870 is simply not worth using. I will actually have a counterpart for this that is worth using, but we'll get to that later. Now, the Mini 14. The Mini 14 is the first gun that will fall into the situationally very good gun category, because when you consider the damage range of the guns on a map like Layali, the time to kill will change significantly. So the other guns will have a higher time to kill, while the DMR will maintain its time to kill at longer ranges. Now the MP5 goes into the viable category, pretty much the same as any other SMG. All of them are definitely viable. Now the P90, I would actually move into situationally very good, because the P90 has an extraordinarily fast time to kill, of course with the downside of not having a lot of range. It also has decent hip fire. Now the MP7 is slightly worse than the P90, however I would still give it the situationally very good, because it will still be better than these guns in its comfort zone, which is close combat, right? The PKM is a gun I would recommend. It has a similar time to kill with the M249, slightly worse chest time to kill, but slightly better headshot time to kill. Now the PSG-1 falls also under situationally very good, as it is a DMR. The PTR-32 is just a viable gun. The QBZ is a gun I would definitely recommend because it is a laser beam and it is very cheap to mod so that you achieve that. Now the S12K is actually the underdog here because I would rank the S12K at I recommend it. Why? Because I kind of played around with it in the firing range. It does seem to have one of the best TTKs. However, that is if you use flechette rounds. So similar to the M1014, it will be effective up to about 25 meters. However, you can use it both with the ADS and hip fire, and it will absolutely destroy people up to 25 meters. This gun surprised me, and it is also very fun to use, especially if you're like a D-Wolf enjoyer or Viron and you like to get into enemies' face and just blast them, you know? The Scar Rage is definitely a viable gun. The SG552 is a viable gun. The SKS falls under situationally very good because it is also a DMR. The SMG45 falls under recommended. I highly recommend this gun. It is a laser beam. It has plenty damage. It is cheap to run, and you can buff it so that it has the range that an AR has. The SR3M is top 3 TTKs. However, it got nerfed into the ground range-wise, so you basically have better options, such as the P90. I simply cannot recommend the gun anymore at all. In fact, I would put it under simply not worth using. It is on the same level of the P90 while suffering from a range nerf. The SR25, I would actually say it is not worth using because it is worse than the other marksman rifles in this category. The SVD is better than the SR25. It is on the same level as these guns here. So I would definitely say it is a situationally very good gun. The Uzi is a viable gun. The Vector. Now the King has returned. A Vector comes in hot with the second best TTK in easy mode, and it is a gun that I would definitely recommend. The Vitiaz is the same as the Uzi and the MP5, so it is just a viable gun. Now the VSS suffers from bullet velocity. Even though it has the highest damage range out of all DMRs, it cannot really hit at those ranges efficiently, and because the bullet is slow, it's like throwing a rock. I cannot recommend this gun, and I would say it is not worth using. There are simply better choices out there, and the time to kill isn't too good anyway. Now let's finish with the other guns before we go into the pistols. So the SR9 is simply a worse DMR than anything we've seen so far. Therefore it gets slapped into not worth using. Now the QJB is actually pretty strong. I haven't gone too far into figuring out how expensive it would be to run while being able to also fire and control it properly. However, it definitely goes into viable. Now the QCQ. The QCQ is definitely a gun I would recommend. It is quite a laser beam similar to the SMG 45, so I guess it is an alternative if you wish. Now onto the pistols. So we have the G18. Let's separate the G18 from the others because it is the only pistol I can recommend. It is definitely a viable gun even when compared to like the other guns, the real guns. Even though it's just a pistol, the time to kill is competitive. It is not that hard to control now that we're going into the more budget build area, considering we are talking about easy mode. So most likely we will not be seeing the most expensive meta builds for these guns, right? Therefore, the G18 I can recommend because it will be one of the cheaper options while being able to achieve
pretty much the same thing as the other guns, right? The other pistols, however, are really, really bad by comparison, and even compared to the other guns. So I must put all of them into simply not worth using. Even the 93R, which is theoretically a powerful pistol, I cannot recommend it because it is a burst gun, and even when you aim for the head, there is a refire needed in order to kill. So one burst, all shots on the head does not kill. So you need two bursts in the head to kill a player, which is not realistic. And then for chest shots, you need 3 bursts in total. It's simply not worth it. That is pretty much it. Now, there is no order to these. So just because the Mini 14 is ahead of the SKS of P90 doesn't mean that it is better situationally or anything like that. There is no order within the category. So pretty much all are on equal foot there. Keep in mind, this tier list is mostly based on the time to kill while using blue ammo against purple gear, which is what we will most likely see most of the time on easy mode from now on. Next, I will showcase my personal builds for some of the recommended guns, so that you guys can get an idea about how they feel. The builds I will showcase will be written down in the spreadsheet, so make sure to access the spreadsheet by clicking the link in the description or in the pinned comment below.